Hey guys, Bravo1701 here, and today we are going to be talking about the Daleks. And my question is, what is the best Dalek story from each decade of Doctor Who? Now, usually I separate best and favorite out, because those are, to me, two very different terms, because I consider best a more objective word and favorite a more subjective word. But for the purposes of this video, I am going to use the terms more interchangeably than I usually would when discussing the video. So starting with the 60s, I'm going to say, keeping in mind, let me point out, I've only seen about half of the Dalek stories from the 60s. Because I've never seen Dalek Invasion of Earth, The Chase, or Dalek's Master Plan. I've seen the Daleks, and I've seen Power, and I've seen Evil. Of the three, Power is easily my favorite. Power is one of my favorite Dalek stories, period. I love Power. It has so much it does. It is a great Dalek story. It is a great post-regeneration story. Especially, it's the first post-regeneration story. Excuse me. And if Troughton hadn't been so good at playing this character, and so good at winning over audiences, the show wouldn't have continued. So this is really just a show from Troughton. He does such a good job here. I mean, just listening to it and watching the animation, especially the special edition of the animation, it really gets across to me just how good this story is. I really like Ben and Polly in this. I really like the guest cast in this, especially Lesterson. I just love watching Lesterson go from, you know, confident scientist who thinks he knows more than the Doctor to paranoid, freaking out, knowing the Doctor's right, not knowing what to do, to where he's just snaps at the end, where he just loses his mind. I absolutely love the kind of all of those stages of his evolution in this story. Really well done. The Daleks in this are... This is some of the best the Daleks have ever been portrayed in Doctor Who, because this story remembers that the Daleks are geniuses, which they are. They're made to be geniuses. I love that. And they're manipulative. They will pretend to be subservient as long as it is serving their needs. As long as their needs are being served, they will do that. And that's neat to me. That's neat to me that they can manipulate people the way they do. You know, I am your servant. I love that. It's just a phenomenal story. And the fact that I like it as much as I do, even just in its animated form, is a testament to the writing, to the audio. I love the music in it. The music does a really good job of setting the tone of the story. I love the incidental music and the sounds that... sound that happens a lot in the background, and this kind of that's with it. It's interesting because it's very light. It's almost like you can almost forget it's there, but it really helps set the mood and the tone of the story. It's such a good story, and plus I love a story like this when you have the Doctor and the audience who knows way more than the scientist at this station than they do. So when they're like, no, we can control the Daleks, we can trust the Daleks, we can make them work for us, as the audience, we're all going, no, 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 you are dumb, this is bad. And then seeing the colonists slowly realize this, and we're like, I told you, you should have listened to me, should have listened to the Doctor. I enjoy it. So for the 70s, I mean, it has to be Genesis. I am going to give a quick mention to Day of the Doctor, because it's a strong second for me. The special edition with the enhanced effects, I do love Day of the Doctor a lot. I'm very fond of the story in Day of the Doctor. It's definitely, I think, one of the best examples of classic Who utilizing the fact that the Doctor can time travel and being in a time travel adventure and cause and effect and all of that. I really enjoy that story. But it has to be Genesis of the Daleks. I mean, Genesis is iconic for so many ways. I would imagine anyone watching this video, I don't have to explain to you why it has to be Genesis. Genesis is just... It's one of the best Dalek stories ever made. It's one of the most iconic Doctor Who stories ever made. It has one of the Doctor's best moments in it. It has, I think, the best Doctor in it. I think it has the best companion in it. And it also has Harry in it. I like Harry as well. This is, I think, the best version of Davros. Michael Wisher is my favorite Davros. So I think this is the best performance of Davros. And every moment between the Doctor and Davros is just gold in this story. Absolute gold. I absolutely love it. And then the Daleks themselves, even though they're not in the story a lot, the ending of the story with them in it is a perfect showcase of exactly who and what the Daleks are. It is a masterpiece. It deserves all of the accolades and all of the praise it gets. It's a phenomenal story. For the 80s, for the 3 stories in the 80s, I'm going to say Resurrection. I haven't watched any of these in several years, but I remember my favorite being Resurrection. They all 3 of them need a rewatch. But I liked Resurrection, just the over-the-top violence, the stakes seem high in it. I love when the Daleks first invade the base and are wiping out all the soldiers to wake up Davros. That's such a neat attack. I love that. The confrontation between the Doctor and Davros at the end, I like that. I like Davros taking control of a couple of the Daleks to do his bidding there. It's a really good story. It's just, I haven't seen any of the 80s stories in so long that I remember more of the basic outlines than the full story, so I need to rewatch all 3 of them. But I like all 3 of them. I think all 3 of them are good. Resurrection just tends to be my favorite. And I think it has a really nice departure for Tegan as well. The 90s, I'm going to kind of skip over because I'm not as familiar. I'm sure they're in a lot of the expanded stuff, but I don't really read the V&As or any of the other books. I'm sure Dom could fill me in on some good Dalek stuff from the 90s, but I'm not really aware of it, so I'm just going to kind of skip past that to the 2000s. And in the 2000s, got to go with Dalek. I absolutely love Dalek. It's my favorite Dalek story. It seems so personal to me in this story with the Doctor and the Dalek in it, especially with him coming off the Time War, thinking he'd finally at least eradicated them. You know, his own people were destroyed, but at least he got rid of the Daleks. So to run into one, you can see all of the emotions Eccleston's having to deal with there, and that every time he's with the Dalek and they're talking, just the range of emotions going on between them is phenomenal. You know, that first meeting when he's like, I saw it happen, I made it happen. I love all of that. And then when he's talking to it later on the computer and he's telling it to destroy itself, you know, erase the universe from your filth. Why don't you just die? And the Dalek's like, you would make a good Dalek. I'm like, woo, I just saw some good SmackDown talk right there. And then seeing everything kind of turned on its head there with the Doctor kind of turning dark and evil and determined to destroy the Dalek, and the Dalek actually having emotions and just, you know, not being quite so evil and not killing. And then that bit at the end when it's like, well, it's not killing. Isn't that a good thing? Not for a Dalek. And the Dalek destroying itself because, you know, it's not a pure Dalek anymore. And that's what a Dalek does. It destroys anything not pure Dalek. Eccleston is great in it. I really like Billy Piper in it. It's a great self-contained episode. I like what ends up happening to Van Staten in it. I like how he kind of gets what he deserves in it. It's such a good story. Easily my favorite Dalek story. Easily. The 2010s are a little harder, especially if I'm trying to differentiate between favorite and best. Because if you're talking about best, there's a few of them. I actually think Resolution is pretty good. Into the Dalek, of course, is pretty good. But my personal favorite, I can at least say, best maybe, but my personal favorite I know I can say is probably Victory of the Daleks. And this is one I only thought was okay the first time I saw it. It's just, every time I rewatch it, I tend to like it a little more. It's just kind of grown on me over the years. This one, I think Matt Smith is just great in it. I love the guy playing Churchill in it. I like him as an actor even, but he's really, just so many good things going on in Victory of the Daleks. I really like the guy playing the scientist that supposedly created the Ironsides. When you find out the Daleks actually created him, I like him as an actor. Again, like the guy playing Churchill in it. Matt Smith is great in it. I really like, again, that the Daleks are pretending to be subservient to the humans just because it furthers their goals so they can achieve, well, their goals. And I love that line when the one Dalek's like, I am your soldier, and how it holds that S just for a second. I love that nice little nod to power. Again, it is like an inferior version of power, but it still has a lot of charm in it. One, I just like the fact that the Daleks win. I like the fact that they achieve their goals. They manipulate the Doctor into doing exactly what they wanted the Doctor to do so they can create the new race of Daleks. And then they get away. I like that. I like the fact the Daleks won. They outsmarted the Doctor. They didn't totally win, but they in the end, I consider they won. That's why it's called Victory of the Daleks. The Paradigm Daleks. I like the design now. I didn't at the time, but it's grown on me. I wish we'd seen more of it. I like that each Dalek kind of has its individual function. It's easy to tell these Daleks apart and what they do. And I also love the fact that in some of the expanded stuff, you find out they actually had, like, stuff on their back. Each color had a different thing on his back. He could flip around and use, like, an alternate weapon that they could rotate around and use. It's a shame we never actually got that in the show, because that would have been fascinating to see. And I find the whole idea fascinating, that each one had its own unique little backup machine or weapon. That's pretty cool. I like that. And I like the little eyepiece too with the yellow light. I really like that. I don't really care for the deeper voices. I like the regular voices a little better. But I like the Paradigm Daleks. Plus I like the fact they were taller. And I love the fact the first thing I do is exterminate the old Daleks, because that's very in line with the Daleks. Since the old Daleks weren't pure Daleks, of course the new Daleks would exterminate them. That's what the Daleks do. So I like them there. Really, the only part of the episode that really bothers me is the World War II planes in space. That's really a jumping the shark moment for me that I can't. My willing suspension of disbelief for a TV show like Doctor Who gives up there. It just can't do it. The World War II planes that are flying around space, I'm just like, what? It's more like a fan service episode right there. But that aside, I enjoyed the episode. I like the acting. And it's a nice little nod to Power while not being as good as Power. And then for the 2020s, I would say Eve of the Daleks. I really liked Eve of the Daleks. I rewatched it just a few hours ago, actually. Or I shouldn't say rewatched it. I watched it for the first time a few hours ago. And just did my review not too long ago. And if you saw my review, you know I loved it. I thought it was great. I had very little issue with it. Really, I think only one minor thing. Other than that, I thought it was good. I think it's Jodie Whittaker's best performance as the Doctor. I think the 13th Doctor feels like the Doctor in it. She's very in control of the situation. She's very, she's acting like a leader. She's taking charge. She's formulating a plan. I felt like I was watching the Doctor, which is not something I say in her run very often at all, especially not for a whole story. So I really enjoyed that. I thought the time loop thing was great. I'm a huge Groundhog Day fan. I love time loop stuff. So I thought that was utilized well, especially with the added wrinkle of each time it loops, there's a minute taken off the clock. I really liked that. That was a nice little new wrinkle to the formula. I think worked really well. Added tension to it, that they know they only have limited loops to work with. That's quite fascinating. I'm surprised no one's ever thought of that before, actually. The guest actors were fine. It's just a really good story. And I really liked the Daleks in it. I thought the Daleks were really, really good in it. I enjoyed them more than I have in a long time. It's probably, I think, the best Dalek story we've had in, I'd say, a good 10 years. So that's saying a lot, especially for this particular era of Doctor Who. But yeah, I think Eve of the Daleks is a really good story. So that's my list. That is my what I think are the best Dalek stories from each decade of Doctor Who. I'd like to know what you think of these stories, and I would like to know what you think is the best Dalek story of each decade of Doctor Who thus far. So comment down below and let me know. I always enjoy hearing from you guys. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there is a link to that down in the description below. Check that out. I want to give a shout out to the 5th Doctor, a top tier patron who currently has some video requests I am working on. Some very good requests. I'm very excited about those. One of them I've got finished and 2 more I still need to do. Let's see, what else do I have on the Patreon that just went up? I have a poll going up for which classic Doctor story I will be watching late in January, and that is between The Ultimate Foe, The Mind of Evil, Enemy of the World, The Brain of Morbius, and Time Flight. So my patrons are allowed to vote in that, and that will be a story that a review I will do here on the channel. I also do exclusive polls for exclusive videos, like I did a poll for which 10th Doctor story I would rewatch and review. And the Idiot's Lantern one, and that was an exclusive review just for my patrons, so there is a review for the Idiot's Lantern up on my Patreon right now if you would like to see that, if you would like to join and see that. I also do other things like bloopers and outtakes, and I do videos showing off kind of my collection of stuff because I love my material things. You know, or sometimes I just do a video about me, sometimes talking about my life and maybe my process for writing, doing videos, stuff like that. All sorts of fun stuff there. If it's something that interests you and you want to know more about me. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.